If you've been watching my videos for a while, or just even this past week, you may think that I am completely against fans running onto the court or onto the field after a big victory. And no, I'm not. But I do feel like there are different credentials you need to meet before that can be more of a valid type of celebration. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that it's fun. I know that we're all college kids. You have emotion and whatnot, and you run out there when big things happen. But there are certain universities, certain programs that really just don't need to do it ever. And I do think, and I also, but before I give my opinion and everything, I do want to say, I want your feedback on this. I want guys to give me video responses and comments and whatnot. Really want some video responses to see what people really think about this from different fan bases. You know, from the big boys in Texas, Oklahoma, and Florida and whatnot, and to some of the up and coming teams. Where do y'all stand on this? Now, every time I say this, I talk about rushing the court, about how Texas doesn't rush the court or rush the field. Everyone sends me the video link of 1990 when the Texas Longhorns beat the Houston Cougars during the Houston heyday. And yeah, here in Austin, Texas. And Texas Longhorns fans rush the field and act like they've never been there before. And after beating Houston, after a big win. But I think that video proves my point rather than dispels it. Because I'm going to put the link of the video up here. Listen to the announcers. Listen to the team's reaction. You look at the Texas Longhorns team, they're not happy about it. They're looking around, telling people to get off the field. But I think the announcer said it the best. One of the I don't know who's calling the game, but he says, "What's going on here?" This, and I'm paraphrasing, but Texas should be used to winning big games. They shouldn't have to act like this. They should know how to win, and that's what I've always been saying. So now I'm going to sit here and hold the Texas program above everybody else. I don't think we're the best program of all time in anything, really. Now, I do think we're the best sports school or athletic school right now. If you look at our athletic department in everything from women's volleyball to men's swimming to everything, we're constantly competitive, constantly competing for a national title. So my deal with the UConn thing with Texas, UConn has had a great tradition, and it's way better than Texas. I know they have two titles in the last about almost 10 years. Um, I, I don't know how many they have overall, but I know it's more than Texas because we have zero. Um, but so when I see a team, and if you look at the crowd rush from the UConn fans in that game, and compare it to South Carolina knocking off Kentucky, I think it almost proves my point as well. The UConn, it wasn't everybody in the crowd rushed the field. It was it was almost a trickle out, had a small grouping compared to other rushes on the court. And I've also heard from UConn fans and whatnot that others that were like, "What's going on here? Like, we're UConn. We don't have to do this." Yeah, it's a big win. We've been struggling, and we knocked off number one. But don't get it twisted. We're the UConn Huskies, and basketball is what we do. Now you compare that to last night when Kentucky, which also to the Kentucky fans, hope you enjoy being overrated as well. Um, Whatever, you guys. But South Carolina, great game last night. Goes and and you see when they win that game, that you couldn't even see the court after the game was over. They just filled it because it was an actual emotion, because it was an actual real upset, real big win for a program that's not really known for basketball. But knocking off Kentucky, who is. Now it's not just because it happened to Kentucky and didn't happen to Texas that I felt like the crowd rush against the Horns was unwarranted. As I said before, if we go to Waco this year and Baylor knocks us off, and that's not a knock on Baylor, because Baylor's a good team this year. They almost beat Kansas in Lawrence. They almost knocked off K-State in Waco. That's a good team they got there. But if the Horns go into Waco and and we get knocked off, I expect that floor to be filled with Baylor Bear fans, and they'd be warranted in every bit. Texas has owned them in basketball ever since Rick Barnes got here. They beat us last year in the tournament, but they've never beaten us in the regular season in basketball, and or at least since Rick Barnes has been here. So, and they're a team on the up and coming, and I see no problem with that. So my deal is this. This has always been my philosophy. This isn't Texas Longhorn philosophy. This is just me, what I've always felt about the issue. If you're well established, if you know who you are, and you are a traditional powerhouse in that sport, and you do pull off a big victory, act like you've been there. Act like you knew that no matter how much you're struggling in that game or struggling that season, the tradition, the pride, and the ability to recruit to that school is going to get you big wins. Act like you've been there, and it's almost like give a respect to those players. On the contrary, if you are on a team at a school whose program is trying to get better, hasn't really been on top before, is just filling out what it feels like to really start winning, and you get that big victory like South Carolina did, man, have at it. That's what that's for. Resting the court is fun. I understand that, but for me personally, I feel like if you are a great team or a team trying to achieve greatness, and you do that, you just give ammunition to the other team's fans for whenever you have a discussion or have any kind of thing. I used it with Texas Tech back in 2007 when they beat us. I was in the building in football. Great football game. Excellent atmosphere. One of the best college football games of all time. Sorry to say that my team wasn't able to win it. When those fans rushed the field, I understand why they did it. I understand that Texas has beaten them 7 years in a row. They've only beaten Texas 12 times, and that meant that they had a chance at a national title, something they've never had before. I understand that. But that being said, when that happened, of course, Texas fans like myself and others are able to use that to say, look, because whenever Texas Tech fans start saying things like we own Texas, and I've heard it before, whether I'm not saying all Tech fans have, but when they say that, then it's brought up. Well, if we beat you in Austin, do we rush the field? So yeah, it's also a lot of it's semantics, a lot of it's pointless things, a lot of it's just my personal beliefs on things. So that's where I stand on it. If you've been an established powerhouse and you get a big victory, act like you expect it to happen and act like you knew that you deserved to get that victory. But if you pull a true upset, man, have at it. I love seeing that. And if you beat it doesn't matter who it is. If it's the Texas Longhorns or Kentucky Wildcats or Kansas Jayhawks, you knock any of them off, and you've been having a struggling year, you're having a struggle, as a program for a while, have at it. Got no problem with it. So, guys, please leave your video responses, leave your comments, and tell me where I'm wrong or where I'm right. And I want to hear from all the fan bases because I feel like if I talk just to the teams who do rush the court, then I'm just going to get a bunch of flack for it. But I really want to hear from what the fans of bigger universities or bigger schools or better programs have to say about it. So let me know and hook 'em horns.